and just, you know, 4.5 DPS, spam out those garbage lines that, although it's not going to be, you know, necessarily on the same caliber as Diao's incredible offensive pressure, I do think, you know, this could be a pretty nice bit for Vince to kind of get into that familiar territory. While TOGAIATS might have to be a little bit concerned with what Vince is doing, and already the all-clear builds off to a very strong start.
Yeah, immediately we can see TOGAIATS starting with that back-to-back chain here. Unfortunately, not able to keep it as they didn't have the cleanest stack, but did follow it with a nice 20 spike there. But Vince completely unfazed, ready with an TeamTSD spike, 28, 31 cent there. TOGAIA forced to the top, now trying to find a downside, but has that L misdrop, letting Vince take the first one.
Yeah, and I definitely think we got to see there, TOGAIA is, I think, trying to be a little bit more safe towards the beginning, where Vince is really starting to go gung-ho with the offense. Oh no, the S misdrop from TOGAIA. Okay, has a little bit of down stack prepared, but I think the more that TOGAIA has to rely on a lot of these, you know, strong thoughts to make sure to keep this back-to-back and down stack, might make it extremely difficult to start taking games off of Vince.
And right now they are struggling at the top here, while Vince already up to that 12 back-to-back, still going right now, just playing so cleanly right now. Does transition the well.
Garbage.
Yeah, gets to it in time, and TOGAIA just trying to find any down stack they can, do make it down, but Vince still not stopping with this back-to-back here, but then follows it up with those two misdrops, letting TOGAIA finally get some breathing room.
Oh no, but TOGAIA with another misdrop as well. Oh, and it's going to be a bit of a strong spike for Vince, and that's going to be a second for them. And just, okay, S to start, early T. So, yep, we do see the PCO comes out from both players. Vince almost misdropping it. Does not look like the PC is there.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, wrong board. Ooh, a little bit of a nice combo there from Vince.
But TOGAIA with a huge tease combo themselves, sending Vince straight to the top, forcing them to downstack here. But looks like TOGAIA not ready to start pressuring after, and Vince is able to downstack through it. I mean, they're the world record of cheese racer for a reason. They're able to downstack quickly, and with that, they make it down to the bottom of their board here.
However, we do see TOGAIA really starting to hold to that 4 pieces per second, while Vince is taking a little bit more time. And although TOGAIA does have a bit of some garbage that they're going to have to deal through, I definitely think this change in speeding things up is going to only help them in the long run. They seem to be doing a little bit of a stronger job maintaining that offensive pressure, and Vince is still just kind of working their way through this. It's not exactly the easiest board to come through, but still not going to be doing too much to Vince just yet.
Yeah, looks like Vince just keeping such clean back-to-back. Had like a crazy TSS into TSD to keep the back-to-back, and they're still going right now, sitting at the top of their board, but they do not care, sending a 21 spike there. But TOGAIA seems to be doing just fine, sitting at the bottom of their board, just taking it all in so cleanly, and they are starting to build a back-to-back chain themselves.
Oh, and it's beautiful garbage. This could be a huge spike. We see all of that ammo dished out in a single swift blow, but unfortunately breaks back-to-back as Vince is unfazed.
Yeah, TOGAIA barely surviving all that pressure, but looks like Vince with so many misdrops on the top there, barely surviving, but still can't fix it in time and letting TOGAIA take their first win.
All right, and definitely a good spot for TOGAIA to be in. You don't want to have VINCEHD start to run away with the sets. Oh, little bit of a awkward start there from Vince. Not sure if that was a misdrop or just working their way through to, I guess, a clean 6-3. And works over to the well perfectly. Look at those eyepieces. Primed for a spike just like that. But TOGAIATS now with the center well and is going to start. We can see speeding up a little bit. Gonna try and see if spiking out Vince is the play to make.
Yeah, looks like they have such a nice 9 combo, but looks like Vince just managed to cancel it all, just dealing with purely clean on their board here. Looks like neither player in a position to get a kill, but both of them trying to get that back-to-back going. Vince has a spike ready here, but still TOGAIA with such a clean well that they're able to handle it all just fine.
Oh, and really good stuff that downstack from Vince, able to get that floating TSD. All right, and a beautifully timed spike, but TOGAIATS able with a little bit of that extra speed, able to get through. Now just looking for another eyepiece, but it's not going to be out in time. And Vince able to take a third, bring the lead to 2, and try to start pulling away with things. Meanwhile, no T in sight, early O. And it looks like we're just going to be seeing that PCO to match.
Looks like Vince deciding to keep going with these PCs. Gets 3 in a row here. Finally forced to stop as Togaya sends a massive spike there, but Vince still has that back-to-back that he is maintaining so nicely here. Togaya being sent up sky high, but immediately making their way back down to the bottom of their board.
Oh, Vince with the huge good. Oh no, the S misdrop. And no, not going to be able to keep a back-to-back. At the very least, has some very strong downstack potentials, but Togaya just a couple of misdrops.
So many misdrops as well, yeah. Looks like they weren't able to make it down, and with that, Vince taking a 3-point lead here, just maintaining so much nice pressure to get these wins in a row here, and looks like both of them starting this set with the pressure.
Exact same board continuation. I think they both went for TKI into Fractal.
Yeah, but it looks like Vince decided to time it, got the cleaner well, and with that, they do have so much they're working with. Togaya still looks like they are pressuring, going so fast down their board, and Vince has that S misdrop trying to find a way down, but getting sent to the top.
All right, and another one from Togaya. That's 4-2. Still a very decent spot to be in, but if this pattern continues, Vince could start to try and build up a little bit more of a lead. All right, the double all cleared. Oh yeah, Togaya though has to accept some garbage, so Vince is the one able to continue through with the PCs. And finally, Vince accepts some garbage. That's going to be off the table.
Yeah, not able to get the killing blow with the PCs alone, but Vince doesn't care with what a crazy spin, but into that misdrop, but into that down stack. That was ridiculous fast. Zero hesitation from Vince. They don't need a single second to figure out what to do. And with that, they are getting that back-to-back going already up to 6. Looks like they might have been trying to find another mid-game PC. Does not pull it off in time, but still keeping that back-to-back here.
They're still building up the back-to-back. It's at 12. I think they might just be building on top of the garbage. Oh, the mini T-spin single carries over the well beautifully. Oh, but the guy
doesn't matter.
And an 18 back-to-back from Vince is really starting to gain some more momentum. 5-2. Early O, and I believe it's going to be yet another PCO with the early I in the second bag to able to help solidify that as well. Oh, but Togaya, is this a TST setup from Togaya? No, it's too greedy.
Way too greedy at the top there. Vince was not letting them get away with that. And with that, yeah, Vince with a 4-point lead here, halfway to 11 at this point. Still playing so well. Togaya struggling to get any wins on the books at this point.
Okay, here we go. A little bit of offense coming from both sides. Togaya breaks the back-to-back. But Vince with the mini T-spin single into the sidewell. It's a huge amount of garbage. And the spike followed by the spike from Vince. And it's 7-2 with a huge advantage that they do have. Togaya really has their work cut out for them as they have an early LNJ to start. And I believe we're going to be seeing an MKO to answer the PCO. But unfortunately, there is a misdrop. And another misdrop for Togaya.
Yeah, Togaya just struggling so much with these misdrops, and it's letting Vince run away with it here. Just playing so cleanly. They cannot be stopped at this point. Only 3 away from winning this first set, and looks like both of them trying to get the PCs still going here. Togaya not done.
5! Can we get a 6? It doesn't matter, that's too much!
And with that, Togaya finally taking their 3rd game. That's what you need. Just, what was that, like 5 PCs in a row?
On their way to the 6th.
Looked like trying again here, but Vince is the one to get it.
Oh no, was that a misdrop? No! And another game for Vince. 9-3. Vince only needs 2 more to solidify, and again, because we don't have the deuce rule, Togait's gonna have to get almost all the wins here without giving up more than 2 games to Vince if they want this to go in their favor, but that's a lot of garbage. Vince not going to be continuing with the PC, but they do have a very solid sidewheel to continue with.
Yeah, deciding to time there to tank a little bit, and it worked out in their favor. It canceled a lot of the sends that Togaya was doing, but now they're sitting at the top, not the cleanest board state. Do go into that 9-0, into that well-transitioned huge spike there. Togaya not ready. And with that, Vince 1 away from taking this first set.
Tagaya almost had the S-spin as well to survive and get to that eyepiece in time, but it just wasn't happening. Tagaya going to the TKI, gonna try and spam out the 6-3 stacking. But Vince with this center well, beautiful job. The donated T-spin in the center. Greeting a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Tagaya's gonna need a huge down stack. They're able to get it in time. Vince with the I-spin, setting up for the T-spin triple. Able to continue this back-to-back on a sidewell, finally gives up. But still alive and kicking. Tagaya's has a lot of cheese now as a result. And Vince has nothing but a clean stack.
Yeah, keeping that back-to-back solo with that TSS, and Togaya dealing with a misdrop at the top there, trying to find a downside, barely living, makes it to the clean in time. Vince not able to get the killing blow, and Togaya making it down to the bottom of their board.
Oh, what a beautiful donation on the left for Vince, but unfortunately a misdrop is going to cut off these skim options, and Tagaya taking full advantage, getting another game under their belt, but it's still going to be quite the uphill battle. As an early eye, perhaps a TKI we'll see from both players, and it looks like, no, Tagaya going with the PCO, but it's not going to get one.
Does followed it up with such a nice mini spike there. Vince, not phased whatsoever, keeping their back-to-back chain going right now. Does have that misdrop. Yeah, forced to finally break out of it and now deal with all of the cheese that Togaya has sent. But Togaya looks like they're not in a position to start the pressure. Have to waste that T there.
Garbage. And the T-spin triple tower instead of finishing the C-spin. Huge combo spike, but Tagaya very low on the board and with some extra damage is going to be ready to take things down.
It looks like both of them make it back to the neutral position here. Togaya is a little bit higher at this point, trying to find that down stack. Does make it down, but in the meantime, Vince is ready with a spike there. Gets a little bit of a multiplier. Gets that TST setup.
Vince is just looking for T-spin triple setups. What is that donated T-spin, Vince? 6 back-to-back, decides to break it. Tagaya is building up a center well. About even in speed, but Vince is really making this efficiency work for them. Tagaya unfortunately has to break back-to-back. Covers up the well. It's getting airtight with these defensive measures.
Yeah, barely surviving by the inch of their teeth and still getting pressured so high up. Vince keeping that back-to-back, finally breaking out of it. Vince finally gets the chance.
Combo into quad from Tagaya, but doesn't matter. Vince is still working with the 7-2 stack. This is pattern stacking all day long. Working with a little bit of a ST stacking and continue over to that clean one, but Tagaya again with the incredible defensive measures and able to survive.
Yeah, timing so well every moment possible because they know Vince is ready with the killing spike and they nearly send it.
What is the survivability? No, misdrops the eye, but they have the combo to keep going. There's a fractal on top of all of this garbage. The counter spike. Oh, Vince misdrops the eye.
And with that, Togaya taking another 2-minute round there. That's what Togaya needs to do. Barely clutching out so many times, living and finally taking it. But still needs to win 6 in a row if they want to take this first set here.
Ooh, TKI, no PC option for Tagaya afterwards. Vince with a little bit of early misdrops. Early spike from Tagaya trying to catch him off guard, and it's going to work. I believe that's what 3 straight now from Tagaya, really turning this up. And starting to claw back, see if they can push this to a 10-10 decider.
They're fighting with their lives. Yeah, right now it looks like Vince gets the PCs going for a 4th here. Misdrops the eyepiece, not able to continue it. And with that, Togaya does make it out of that risky position they were in and is starting to build that back-to-back right away.
Oh, and beautiful center wall play from Vince. And a lovely donation as well, going for the early spike, but Tagaya has that fractal, beautiful option to play defensive and make sure that they're not going to get topped out. Vince a little bit on the ropes.
Yeah, sitting at the top, but makes it down so cleanly to the bottom here. And now Togaya sitting a little bit high up. But as I say that, Vince immediately gets counter-spiked up here. Does get a nice 20 spike, but follows it up with that Z-miss drop, trying to keep the back-to-back in the meantime. Still doing their best.
Back-to-back? This is going to be a clean back-to-back preservation. The T-spin triple kick. Finally has to break it.
Yeah, Togaya on the other side has their own back-to-back they're maintaining, but misdrops and forces them to break out of it into a J misdrop as well. Now sitting at the top, dealing with a lot of T's on their board as Vince continuing that pressure. And even though Vince misdrop, it did not matter with that. Togaya loses the first set.
And I will say, though, Togaiat's definitely, I think, starting to find a little bit more of that rhythm, but Vince just a little bit too much of that leeway early on in the set. As you can see, a lot of early mid-game wins that, unfortunately, Togaiat was just not able to overcome. Very, very close versus score, and in general, just, like, overall performance between Togaiat's and Vince. Togaiat's is really hanging in there with a lot of Vince's builds and stacks and everything, but I think Vince is just able to get off to that really quick start, taking Togaiat's off the ropes, and just, I mean...
I mean, yeah, I think Togaiat definitely was moving a lot better a lot of those later rounds, but Vince just had such a massive lead at that point. And you can see they basically have the same PPS, but Vince with such a massive, nearly 30 APM difference there. And I think just that pressure they were able to send forced Togaiat to just be constantly downstacking, not letting them build back-to-back of their own. And you can see how that shows in the games different. Vince just taking it so readily, but I mean, Togaiat is still, once again, playing so well at the end there, getting 3 wins in a row. They might start to be figuring Vince out at this point.
Yeah, I will say, though, definitely interesting, though, to note a lot of much slower play, I think, from Togaiat's that I think we've been used to seeing, especially for those that tuned in to Togaiat's group stage matches. I'm not sure if Togaiat maybe just doesn't feel as comfortable trying to go for the blitzing plays of, 4.5 pieces per second, very inconsistent depending on your stacking abilities. But I think if Togaiat is able to lean into that, a lot of their winning rounds had 4 pieces per second. So if they're able to rely on this speed, maybe overcome a little bit of the pressure. What is this TST stack that we see from Vince yet again? Just builds the swag tower like it's nothing. And Togaiat, a little bit of a misdrop.
Vince still keeping that back-to-back, does finally misdrop there, but still trying to maintain it, might be able to do so, is able to clear it, but Togaiat sends such a massive spike, they finally are forced to downstack.
On back-to-back. Trying to combo through, but unfortunately there's not a lot of stuff on their board currently that they're able to retaliate with. We see a beautiful TeamTSD set up in the nick of time, and the first game this round will go to Togaiat. A very strong start out of them. And excited to see SC to start, who will be the one to outcome best over this starting match. Oh my goodness, and the double all clear. Oh, Togaiat's is a bit stronger.
Yeah, sends that one extra line, makes it so Vince cannot keep it going. And now Vince misdropping there, but gets such a nice downstack multiplier follow-up there that those misdrops don't matter for them at all here.
We can see, yeah, definitely look at Togaiat right now, striding through in the center well, going for that huge spike, and the 4.2 pieces per second from Togaiat. It's a 2-0 lead for Togaiat in our set 2.
Yeah, again, taking the lead here, playing strong at the start here, but Vince is gonna keep fighting here, starting this round a little bit slower at this point here. But looks like they might start to speed up as they have the clean well to work with.
Okay, going through to the... It looks like Togaiat just going for a bit of a side well. Beautiful mini T-spin, continuing with the spike, but Vince setting up the T-spin triple tower, having to compromise, only gets it as a single. Oh, but Togaiat, though, not the best follow-up as well, unfortunately. Gonna have to really turn on these jets all the way back down to ground zero. Vince, unfortunately for them, has to break the back-to-back as well. And both players struggling to find some footing and to get any kind of an offensive state. Huge spike from Vince, but again, not going to get too much mileage out of it.
Yeah, looks like Togaiat just managing to survive this pressure a lot better. Vince, not ready in the eye misdrop there, letting Togaiat win 3 in a row to start here.
And a much different tone that we're seeing. We see Togaiat really starting to hit the jets and the ground running this particular set, and it looks like it might be making all of the difference. However, Vince really trying to go with some incredible T-spin builds as per usual, seeing if they're able to live through this massive offense that we're seeing. And look at this center well play from Togaiat. We're seeing 4.5 pieces per second. The back-to-back is flying up. Unfortunately, A little bit of odd piece sequence, and they are going to end the back-to-back prematurely. And Vince trying to capitalize off of this portion.
It looks like they followed up with a miss drop there into Cheese Race. They get a nice 8-9 combo there, but Togaia looks like they just sent so much that they were able to cancel basically all of it. But Togaia now has that miss drop they're dealing with, do get through it in time, and now have the perfect wall to try and spike, but Vince is not done with their attack. Building up that 7 back-to-back here now, still going as Togaia tries to downstack through all of it.
Oh, wow, and the ST prop for Vince, trying to keep back-to-back with this really interesting sidewell, but it's going to work out for them. They have the clean sidewell, 17 back-to-back, and that is how VINCEHD will get on the board for set 2. 1-3, keeps it within 2.
Yeah, finally getting their first win, absolutely what they needed. Make sure Togaia does not run away with it, but Togaia is not stopping right now. Gets that PC to start and has the perfect well to start with back pressure. Yeah, you cannot do anything against that.
Man, just the stats going off the charts, just like VINCEHD's garbage queue. And that's a 4th win for TOGAIATS, which I believe is a much better situation to be starting off through, but a lot of early garbage from Vince this time around. And Togaia having to play a little bit more carefully. The speed is slowing down, and this is Vince's win condition. Prevent TOGAIATS from playing that offensive pressure that they're able to do so well.
And right now, Togaia just trying to downstack, but has that team miss drop, not able to get through it in time, and with that, Vince winning their 2nd one here.
All right, early eye, probably a TKI from TOGAIATS, if not from Vince as well. We see the double TKI starts, and Vince gonna be almost a little mechanical TSD following up as a result. And the T-spin single, TOGAIATS trying to work their way clean over to the garbage, able to do so rather swiftly. Oh my goodness, the greed on the STSD, Vince, but TOGAIATS as well, able to accept just in the nick of time.
But maybe not time enough. Yeah, Vince still ready with the pressure on top of that. Now 1 away from bringing it back to tied.
All right, early T to start, and the TKI will be the opener of choice for both players. Identical playing fields, but Vince is going to block a little bit, and it's going to work out in their favor as the insta spike, and it's immediately a 4-4 set as they are starting to pull back this momentum. And this tug of war is looking a little bit more scary for Togaia right now.
Yeah, Vince looked like they are starting to get in action here and getting those wins on the board finally. Ties it back up, and Togaia struggling a little more at this point here. They do have this massive spike ready here, but Vince still managing to tank it all so well. And now they are down stacking through it all.
Oh, misdrop T and a little bit of cheese. Oh, beautiful timing with the eyepiece though from VINCEHD. And all the way back down. That's what you expect to see out of the Cheese Race world record holder.
Oh my goodness, such a nice clean down stack.
What was that down stack? Oh, and what is this board though from Vince? Looking a little suspect, but it doesn't matter. They have a combo potential.
Yeah, makes their way out of it right away, and yeah, with that, they are at the bottom, but immediately get sent back to the top from Togaia's spike as Togaia tries to build this back-to-back chain. Does have that L miss drop there, forcing them to break out of it, and now both of them in a pretty neutral position.
All right, it's just not looking the best there for Togaia. A lot of garbage to sift through. But Vince as well, not really in the best of circumstances to be opening up to that sidewell. Huge spike incoming. Togaia barely can skim through. Unfortunately, has to sacrifice both eyepieces. That's another game for Vince as they finally take the lead with their 5th win.
Yeah, with that, this is the first time they are leading in this set here. Togaia struggling to get
on the J piece in order to keep the all clear going. Almost gets the second one with the eyepiece extra credit. Oh no, but 2 misdrops there for Vince. On the 180 spin as well.
Yeah, just makes it down through it like it's nothing. Misdrops are just they're an inconvenience. They're not a stopper for Vince at this point. They can downstack through anything, and that's what they're trying to do right now as Togaya sends them to the top. But again, Vince making their way down to the bottom right away here, and now both of them sitting at the bottom just trying to build some back-to-back here.
Well,
and you can see Togaya ready with the spike there.
Oh, Fractal as well. Oh, and a beautiful donated T-spin. Oh no, Miss Hold's unfortunately gonna have to wait for another T-piece. Airtight placements that they're gonna have to worry about. Spikes from both players, but they're able to survive. Where are these spikes? Just retaliation. It feels like a right and Senator Armstrong moment with the amount that this is going back and forth, and it just seems to be doing absolutely nothing to both Vince and TOGAIATS. Another airtight placement for TOGAIATS, but still alive. Gets to these eyepieces in time. And Vince going for the STSD. Tries to get the largest spike you've ever seen, but it still doesn't do anything for TOGAIATS.
And just both of them still surviving so much relentless pressure. Vince trying to continue with another spike there, but Togaya just handles it perfectly at this point.
Well, doubles down and breaking back-to-back, but Vince again still ready for it and brings even more cheese to TOGAIATS' board, really dampening the ability for TOGAIATS to play that hyper-offensive play. Misdrop T, this could be lethal.
They'll find a small combo, but it's not enough to get through all of this cheese here. Vince just trying to start bringing on this pressure. They have that back-to-back chain going, but Togaya ready to send another chain of their own there, forcing them out of it. And Togaya now trying to just pressure so much to kill, but cannot keep it going as both players just keep sending to each other, forcing them out of the back-to-backs.
Yeah, I definitely think TOGAIATS having a lot of trouble keeping back-to-back going. Oh no, the double misdrop. And Vince
with the TSD tower, sending Togaya up, but Togaya's still alive there. We're starting to approach the 3-minute mark at this point, which is gonna be margin time if neither can get the kill here.
You can see both players sending a lot of spikes just to see if they can put their opponent into a misdrop-worthy situation. Just trying to see if they can outpace the other and outlast. But it's very difficult, especially with this set. It's going to be very grueling between the two. Vince with a little awkward Z misdrop. Oh, this might be it. No, gets the eyepiece in time.
But then another double misdrop. Oh, Togaya with such a clean board, they might get the kill, but never mind.
And Vince and manages to still get T-spins out. And yeah, we are 3.5 minutes in.
Fix.
Oh, little mini combo there from Vince as TOGAIATS trying to go through with some T-spin and quad.
Togaya dealing with a lot of cheese now. And finally, Vince, after 3.5 minutes, wins another game there, up 6-4. What a ridiculous round by both players.
Early IO, we'll be seeing again that TKI, but definitely a heartbreaker of a round to lose if you're Togaya. But off to a blistering start, we can see going with that hyper offensive play. Vince with the combo play, mini T-spin single on the 8 combo, and that is a very quick round in contrast to last. And a 7-4, and immediately that lead of 3 for Togaya has been flipped on its head, as it is now a 3-game lead for VINCEHD.
And yeah, with that, Togaya has very little room to work with at this point, but still trying their best to pressure here. Does have that Z misshop, it seems like, is able to get out of it as Vince has some misshops of their own here, but looks like Vince is ready with such a clean well. What a ridiculous donation there by Vince, able to survive all of that pressure, but Togaya is not stopping with the back-to-back.
Well, yeah, Vince had a little bit of a tricky time getting through. No, the greed on the TST. Saw the sun and just a little bit flew too close. But Togaya able to get the punish off in time and trying to claw their way back to a lead. So it's going to be quite a difficult time to get through. Nice MKO into PC for Togaya. And this is a beautiful, well, unfortunately, it's in that awkward 2 column. So unfortunately going to be breaking back-to-back as the garbage again. Sent all the way over to the other side of their matrix. Huge early spike, but Vince as well able to retaliate, says I can play at that game as well.
And with that, it looks like we've gotten into a pretty neutral position. Vince getting spiked up so much, but gets a nice combo to tank it, and Togaya now misdropping, forcing them out of the back-to-back. And Vince with the misdrop as well, forcing them out of the back-to-back. Both of them dealing with a little bit cheese on their board. Looks like Vince gets down through it just a bit faster, and now starting to build that chain again, but forced to break out of it as Togaya sends a massive spike there.
Yeah, 22 spiked at absolutely nothing, maybe a 24, but no! Vince, the master of the disappearing act, the garbage is gone. Oh no! I think might have misheld the T, not entirely certain.
Yeah, dealing with some misdrops at this point here. Togaya trying to get the kill, but has some S-misdrop of their own there, cannot fix it in time, and Vince takes another one, 3 away from moving on to top 4.
Alright, and this would be a beautiful DT cannon build, but it looks like it's also a fantastic PCO start, but unfortunately, the pieces in bag 2 not going to be too favorite towards that perfect clear opener. However, Togaya, look at this beautiful well, they have immediate 28 spike. Vince is trying to send garbage beyond line 20, but unfortunately just a little bit too high up.
Yeah, cannot get through it in time. That relentless pressure by Togaya is killer even for Vince. And Togaya is still fighting for a chance to get this second set win, but dealing with some misdrops right now as Vince just trying to get some 9-0 back-to-back build.
Okay, oh, but Togaya able to get, oh my, so scary, almost was not able to tank that, but the colliding misdrops towards the center. Still gonna be a really difficult spot. The T-spin, none, that is absolutely tragic. And it is a 9-6. Vince still with the three-game lead, excuse me. Really trying to prevent Togaya from pulling this from behind. Oh, and another PCO attempt from Togaya, but it is not there.
Unfortunately, a fruitless effort at this point, but they do have that back-to-back. They are trying to build that Z-Mishop at the top into that J-Mishop, and with that, Vince 1 away from taking this set.
And it's going to need to be 5 in a row for Togaya, but again, they were able to make it 4-1 earlier this set. If they're able to tap into some of that potential from those speedy builds early on, I think if they're able to just keep it going, might be something that they're able to work with. But Vince, 7 back-to-back. It's crawling up. What are these donations? But they're not going to get to it in time. And that is our second set decided in 2. Is VINCEHD going to be solidifying their spot into our semifinals of TWC.
Yeah, and with that, Vince moves on to play Diao. And what a performance by Vince. Togaya played that so well. I know a lot of the LATAM community were rooting for